What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and it's the morning of Valentine's Day, and that means that the new Destiny Weapons and Subclass Balance patch, Hotfix 2.5.0.2, has just been released. It is now available to download on the platform of your choice. Now, in addition to launching this hotfix, Bungie also released the official patch notes, and that's what we're going over in today's video, because last week, Bungie hosted an official live stream where the developers talked about a ton of the huge changes coming to Destiny with this hotfix. I did a video detailing basically everything, well not basically, everything Bungie talked about in that live stream. And I would highly recommend you watch that video because this video is picking up where that one left off. In that live stream, Bungie also mentioned that they weren't going to talk about all of the changes being made, and additionally, they talked about how some things were being changed, but didn't talk about how exactly those things are being changed. So again, this video is picking up where the other one left off. We're finishing the list, basically, of all of the changes coming to Destiny with Hotfix 2.5.0.2. So this video won't talk about the stuff they talked about last time. We're not going to be talking about what they did to pulse rifles, what they did to shotguns, because that has remained unchanged from what they said in the live stream to the actual official patch notes. So let's get started with even more changes coming to Destiny. But before we do, guys, if you enjoy this content, please remember to support it by liking, commenting, and especially sharing. It's a very simple thing to do, but it really helps me out. So on to the changes. Now, firstly, one of the biggest changes coming with this hotfix is the change to special ammo. So now when you die, you'll lose all special ammo, and then you're going to have to go to a special ammo crate to get more. They recharge every 60 seconds. However, it was further detailed what exactly this means to elimination game types and some changes to elimination game types. Mainly, the round time limit has been reduced to 90 seconds, whereas before it was 2 minutes. So that is a full 30 seconds less than it used to be, and this will definitely quicken the pace of elimination game types. In addition to that, how the special ammo changes will work in elimination game types is that you're going to spawn in with special in the first round, and in all subsequent rounds you're going to spawn in with no special ammo, even if you end that first round with special ammo. Also, the timing for the first round is going to be 30 seconds for the crates to have special ammo, and then on subsequent rounds it's going to be 45 seconds. So it's just kind of clarifying how this is going to work with elimination game types. Moving on from there, we have some very interesting information about exotics being buffed and or nerfed. Unfortunately, only 2 exotic weapons were affected in this patch, and one of them was a nerf. I did a video about 7 exotic weapons that needed to be upgraded, that needed a buff, and only one of those were affected. So that's kind of disappointing. There's a lot of exotics out there, the Boolean Gemini, the Dreg's Promise, all of that stuff that isn't seeing a ton of play, and unfortunately that's not likely to change. I wish Bungie would have, given a little bit more love to some of those exotics that desperately needed it. However, one exotic that they definitely did give, I'd say a little bit more than a little bit of love, is the Young Wolf's Howl. This is, of course, the new Rise of Iron exotic sword that you get for just beating the Rise of Iron campaign. They reduced the Howling Flames exotic ability of the sword, which used to cost 10 heavy ammo, and reduced it down to 5, matching the other exotic swords. This is huge, because it doesn't say anywhere in the patch notes that they changed the effectiveness of the Howling Flames perk whatsoever. So Howling Flames is still going to be extremely effective. You're going to slam the ground, deal huge area of effect damage, and leave lingering flames that damages enemies. and weaken enemies, making them take more damage of any enemy you hit. So Young Wolf's Howl just got legitimately a ton better. Seriously consider whipping that out instead of your Raise Lighter when it's a Solar Burn Heroic Strike playlist. Moving on from there, one exotic was nerfed, and it was the Truth exotic rocket launcher. The magazine size has been reduced from 3 to 1. From 3 to 1. So there goes any reason to use the Truth rocket launcher, like, whatsoever. I'm not in favor of this at all. I never thought the Truth was taking over the Crucible. It was certainly seeing high play, but that's just because it tended to be a good rocket launcher for PvP. I saw the Galahorn honestly just as much as I saw the Truth, and going from 3 to 1, that is insane. Quite frankly, I think that's a step too far, and it's not only limiting its PvP use, there's really no reason to use it now in PvE. Previously, you'd see a lot of people run the Truth when it was a Void Burn playlist, but now, geez, like, you might as well just use the Nova Mortis, for goodness sakes. Now, one last thing before we move off of exotics. I did mention last time how shotgun's precision damage was being removed, and while that is still true, the exotics that require it, aka the Chaperone and the Universal Remote, will still get precision damage when aiming down sights. So they have actually become technically a little bit more powerful because they are still getting that 20% damage buff that all shotguns are getting to make up for no precision damage, and they're still getting precision damage. So to account for this, actually, the Universal Remote has been, I think, preemptively nerfed. Its magazine size has been reduced from 5 to 3, and it takes longer to reload. So we'll have to see how that panned out, because yes, it was a nerf on a weapon that really wasn't seeing any play, but it did technically get a buff because it got 20% more damage. You could think of it that way, because it's still getting precision damage. Now, moving on from there, we have some pretty big changes that affect all classes. They reduced the health of Guardians with armor values above 10. So you could max out for armor and get more health than usual. It turns out that they've nerfed that a little bit, I guess, and so if you have a max armor build, like if you're playing a Titan or if you're playing a Warlock with a really heavy armor class, you're going to not have as much health as you previously did. Furthermore, they increased the damage of Flux Grenade, Magnetic Grenade, and Shoulder Charge to ensure effectiveness across all armor values, aka those abilities will now kill no matter what Guardian you're up against. I'm not hugely in favor of that. It kind of takes away the purpose of maxing out your build for armor. Like, what's the point now of giving up your agility and your recovery in order to get max armor if you don't even get the same benefit, and if a ton more abilities now kill you in one shot? The purpose of running max armor was that so certain abilities couldn't kill you in a single shot. So I'm not sure how I feel about that change. Furthermore, Blink was being changed, we knew that, but exactly how is it being changed? Well, Blink now disables your Radar and HUD for a short time after activation, which is actually a nerf. Not sure about this one because Blink wasn't seeing that much play. Now let's move on to the newly announced changes to the subclasses. Firstly, for the Hunter, Blade Dancer's Quick Draw perk no longer readies your weapon instantly, but now grants a large increase to weapon handling speed. So that is definitely a little bit of a nerf. In addition to that, Shinobu's Vow, I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be interested in hearing this. Shinobu's Vow no longer adds an additional seeker to skip grenades. So, the Shinobu's Vow exotic gauntlets for the Hunter, not only were they giving you an additional skip grenade, but they were also making skip grenades better. They're adding an additional seeker. Thankfully, thankfully, this has been removed. Shinobu's Vow are indeed still going to be very powerful. They just won't be as ridiculous as they were before. So I'm definitely in favor of that change. I mean, I don't main a hunter, so sorry if you main Blade Dancer and you're upset by this, but my gosh, it was getting a little bit oppressive. Anyways, guys, moving on to the Warlock. Not too much was changed that wasn't already announced. Just to clarify something, so the Thunderstrike melee on the Stormcaller class has been kind of reduced, nerfed to bring it in line with the other melee ranges. So it's now more comparable to the melee ranges of the Voidwalker and the Sunsinger. However, this base range is going to be increased with the Amplitude node, which grants increased range to Thunderstrike. So if you still want to have a melee that outranges everything else, you're just going to have to pick the Amplitude node. Otherwise, you're going to have a more realistic, more average melee. In addition to that, the exotic perk of the Ophidian Aspects exotic gauntlets for the Warlock make it so that your weapon no longer readies instantly, but now it grants a large increase to weapon handling speed. So it looks like they made that change to the few places where it was relevant in the Blade Dancer and on the Ophidian Aspect. Now for the Titan, no new changes were announced, and the last new change that we're going to go over is something pretty interesting because it's actually a glitch that affects a ton of stuff in the game. And what it actually is the nerf to Hungering Blade. So previously we talked about how Hungering Blade for the Blade Dancer was nerfed a little bit in the way that when you get a kill and Hungering Blade triggers, instead of healing your shield and your health at the same time, making it a lot harder to take down a foe that you've already wounded. And Bungie's point was, look, you almost kill a Blade Dancer and then they kill one of your idiot teammates that walks in front of them, and then they have full health and they're already starting to regenerate shields, and it's just a little bit oppressive. So the change they made is that it's just going to regenerate large chunks of health and then shields and not do them all at once. However, this change to gaining your health back also unintentionally affected these other abilities. Firstly, Transfusion for the Striker Titan. That's when getting a melee kill would gain you health back. Next, Cauterize, getting a kill with hammers would gain your health back. Lifesteal for the Voidwalker, the Red Death exotic pulse rifle perk, the Suros Legacy perk on the Suros regime, the No Backup Plans, the Ward of Dawn cast, the Ram, Apotheosis Veil, and Embrace the Void for the Warlock. So pretty much everything that gains you health has been affected by this change. And this is some pretty big news because that's a pretty big list of abilities that have been affected by this. Now, generally you'd think that this would be a nerf to all of those abilities because it was definitely a nerf to Hungering Blade. So we're gonna have to see, what this effect actually causes for all of these different abilities. Bungie said that, they were thinking about delaying this hotfix, but they decided that all of these abilities will still gain you health. They will still do what they were kind of meant to do, just not to the same degree of effectiveness. So maybe these changes will be okay, but it does seem like a lot of nerfs to a lot of different abilities that really didn't need it. I don't even remember anyone saying, oh boy, that Suros Legacy perk on the Suros regime is just a little too much, So hopefully these changes won't be, again, too astronomical. They won't completely nerf stuff that didn't need to be nerfed. They'll just be a slight change, but we're gonna have to see. In any event, Bungie will definitely be addressing these changes if it turns out that they're just really bad changes and they just make worse stuff even worse. Hopefully they will anyways. And so guys, that is going to conclude all of the new changes announced in today's patch notes. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. Now if you did, again, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now if you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.